You go to the bank, I want to buy this. They say, no. Okay, you tear it down. Here's a piece of land. Can I buy this and give me a loan for new house? Yes. Oh, here's the loan. They'll shovel money at you. So the biggest obstacle to the renovation market to keep old houses are basically the banks.
Welcome to the Buying a House in Japan podcast. My name is Take, joined by my co-host Joey. Today we have a super special guest, Koen. He's a partner at Front Office. We were introduced to you. Who introduced you to us, actually? How did we get connected?
I got an email address from somebody on Reddit. Someone on Reddit had been mentioning that Front Office had done some work for him. They were fantastic and English speaking. So I sent a cold email.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, Koen, do you mind giving us a quick intro on yourself and what you do?
Yes. So I'm actually very happy to hear. Thank you for inviting me first. And also I'm happy to hear that I'm mentioned on Reddit. That's like
famous.
Wow. And we didn't have so many clients in the past 10, 15 years that we're running Front Office. So I'll go through my list and see who I can find on Reddit. Anyways, my name is Koen Klinkers. I've been in Japan about 20, 25 years. I'm an architect by background. I'm Dutch. Got my license in the Netherlands. Find myself on a scholarship to Japan, supposedly for 2 years, but guess what? Here I am 25 years later. It's a great place to be. I ran a real estate fund at one point, bought properties and sold off the properties. Out of that, we got a private client who house I bought, but then of course had bought a piece of land. I needed an architect. And so I raised my hand and said, hey, I'm an architect as well. And hey, I got the job. So that little house was built in 2008. And welcome to Tokyo real estate. It was torn down in 2022. So I'm part of the cycle of the amazing Tokyo real estate metabolism, if you want to call it. This city is alive. There's a pressure in the better parts of town. That building lasted 14 years. I think on average it's 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
So we're a bit short on the cycle. But anyway, I was always very happy that people were tearing down buildings because, hey, it gives a chance for me as an architect to build them. I mean, Front Office, I have a partner, Bill, that we do this job together. But we always get excited when they tear down buildings because, hey, we can build. And then one day they tear down your own building and you're like, right?
No.
So existential thoughts come up. Why did I do this? But yeah, it's great to be here and it's great to build.
Cool.
Was that just kind of the natural cycle that buildings in Japan, after 21 years, they can't be depreciated anymore, so people just naturally decide to tear them down, or?
No, I think it's a bit more complicated. So if you go to the countryside, I think then actually people build a house and then they live there until they die. So I think it all comes together with pensions. They're not that great pensions here. So people try to get their own house that they own. But once they retire, they've paid off the mortgage and then they live there. I think that's for the majority in Japan. I think it's the extreme real estate pressure in a city like Tokyo and constantly people moving in. So if Japan is suffering from a decline in population, in general, the population is declining and cities are declining. Tokyo is the only city or one of the few cities with a surplus of people moving in. And then people want to live in good neighborhoods. So this little house particular was Yoyogi. We built it for an older couple, so it was only 80 square meters, whereas on site you could build about 140 square meters. The next person who bought it was like, this house is too small for this lot. Boom, right? And so you see other buildings as well, older office buildings where the FAR or plot area ratio has been raised in certain neighborhoods. It doesn't happen often, but it's politically convenient sometimes to raise the FARs. That means tons of buildings are suddenly on little lots or large lots, undervalued basically, because the building is smaller than what you can actually build. And those buildings are very prone to get redeveloped. So it's more like real estate pressure, because on average, I think people, once they've built it, bought it, paid off the mortgage, they will live there 40, 50 years.
Curious, does your Dutch architecture degree transfer over? Or like, how did that certification happen?
No, it doesn't. Long story short, I once tried. I can go to the ministry. I have a Dutch license. They will give me an exemption of one part of the exam to become a certified Japanese architect. I was very cocky when I was younger and I applied, but you need 10 years of working experience. But I included my working experience when I was a student, so that didn't count. And then I would have to come back in 2 years. I never did that. The Japanese system is very strict, and then it is very gray at the same time. It's a very nice way in Japan. So once we do renovations, we do not need a license. Once we do new construction, we basically team up with an architect friend, and then you do a joint design. So they sign for us. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'm curious, generally what kind of projects do you work on? I've seen your portfolio. You guys have done some really cool stuff. Sounds like Central Tokyo, kind of more like high-end design. Is that right?
Correct. So we had a nice run with a few high-end clients. So they bought a big plot of land, and then we were able to design their private house. The bread and butter has more like been renovations. So that's either for residential or for offices. We've done a few offices. Actually, I had Microsoft as one of my clients. So that's always nice to have those people, which was a data center and just an interior, but it won't show up on my website. But,
that's cool though. Data center
client,
interior for Microsoft?
All right. The office part. We didn't do the racks. That was easy.
Microsoft himself.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. So no, it's mostly like, word of mouth. People recommend us, friends introduce us, and then that's how we get the jobs.
Got it. Will you guys ever take jobs and, like, let's say Mark Zuckerberg knocks on our doors, like, I want a place in Okayama. Is there a certain geo you guys are willing to go to? Or,
I mean, it's Mark Zuckerberg, so you probably know the fees are very high. So then, I'll go anywhere. I do know, for instance, I just recently saw, what's the CEO of Oracle, Ralph Ellison? I think his house is up for sale. I know that Bill Gates has a house in Karuizawa. So apparently all these high-paid CEOs from US companies all seem to have houses in Japan. So maybe that's a market for you guys. So, but I'm not sure they're into Akiya. It looks very nice, the Ralph Ellison's house. So no, of course. We recently, last year, completed a project. It's up on our website. This was in Ibaraki, which is north of Narita Airport. So for me, it's a 1.5 hours drive to get there, which is then doable. It was a referral, again, a friend and his father-in-law. They were rebuilding the farmhouse. So we ripped the farmhouse apart, and I walked in once the interior was out, and I go, "Oh, thank you for taking out the insulation," I tell to the contractor. And he looks at me and goes, like, "What insulation?" Basically, once you strip a wooden house, this was a 50-year-old wooden house, to its basics, it's basically a wooden shed. Our task was to make this building appropriate for the next 20 years and giving it something of an energy label certification. So we put in the insulation, flooring, walls, ceiling, and it turned out really nice. But like with any project, you have to manage it. You can do as much online. Contractors are getting better. Maybe just send you images, just have a quick chat, video chat. But it's always good to go there and see what they're doing or how they're doing it or how they're solving it. So we're always there with a pencil, kind of this corner, try this corner, do it like this. Now, we care because we're architects and we made the plan and had a certain vision. If you're renovating an Akiya and it says, "Okay, guys, give me wallpaper," then anybody can do it. It's the extent to how far you want to renovate. Again, with Akiya's Japanese buildings, bathrooms, easiest to go is a unit bathroom. So pick it from the catalog. Next month, there's a perfect bathroom. You don't have to worry. But
Koen, a question we get a lot when people are asking about renovation is, what kind of permits do I need to?
Correct. So I would say be careful if you're in a so-called mansion, like a residential building, then people will care. Contractors as well, like older mansion buildings have beautifully tiled bathrooms, and sometimes if it's the 80s, the bubble era, it's granite all over the place. I've ripped out a few of those, and the contractors will always go, "Well, now we'll pick the unit bath." And you go like, "No, this is a high-end mansion. We're going to put tiles back, so please do waterproofing, so cement, waterproofing, do everything." And they go like, they all get a bit iffy because once you put in a unit bath, they give you a guarantee. There's no leaks, right? Or if it leaks, you call Toto and they will send somebody to check it. If you do a unit, and if you don't do a unit bath, the tiling and the waterproofing could go wrong. So this is where contractors get a bit worried. So, but again, that's higher end mansions. And again, you're in Akiya, so more like freestanding houses. It's a freestanding house, it's your own land, go for it. Now, the two things that matter in Japan is earthquake safety and fire safety. So don't rip out too many walls. Make sure that you have something left of an earthquake resistance in your building. And secondly is fire safety. But okay, is fire safety, just a quick rule. If you're 5 meters from your neighbor, you can build a wooden house. So lots in Tokyo are so small, if you do 5 meters, basically it overlaps from each boundary line. So yes, your house has to be fully fireproof. And Tokyo City wants preferably concrete houses because they're most fire safe. Now you're in the countryside, sometimes you'll be in a big lot, so build whatever you want. If you're closer to neighbors, when you do your outside facades, make sure that's non-burnable. You see the glass with the wires, that's not for earthquakes, that's for fire safety. If your neighboring house burns, your windows have a 30 or 60-minute fire safety rating, so the glass doesn't break. That means the flames can't get in. Your facade has a 1-hour fire rating because it's mortar, right? So once you keep those things in mind, you don't need to get permits because the house has a permit. But once you start rebuilding, just be smart what you add. Yeah.
We did the exact opposite. We went in and we tore down a wall and we're like, is this structural? And we just took it down.
The cross. We opened up this wall and there's the cross bracing. I'm like, we'll get rid of this garbage and start like shaking it.
No, I would recommend not to do that. So you will, these old little houses, they're, again, earthquake safety is also a balance between how much material do I need to put and how much cost, right? If you want a house to be 100% earthquake proof, you just use huge, massive columns and, build solid walls, basically build concrete, right? So then you get these wooden houses, they're built in the most economical way, which is then thin columns, right? Because it saves costs, transportation costs, whatever. And then as much braces as possible just to give it the earthquake safety. Now, in the old wooden farmhouses, it was mostly the outer walls, and then there's columns to keep up the roofs. The younger houses, let's say 20, 30, 40 years, it's built the most economical way. That's why the windows get smaller, because where a window sits, that part of the wall doesn't count for the earthquake safety. And that's in new houses, windows get smaller and smaller because they get cheaper and cheaper. So the cross brace you saw is basically in that direction that the cross brace sits for the earthquake safety.
About the small windows, I've definitely seen new builds where it's like a lot of wall, it seems like, and then small windows. And
So it's two things. The contractor and everybody else, it's cultural. Japanese people do not want to look outside. Come on, everybody likes daylight or whatever, right? So, but it's true. Lots in Tokyo get smaller and smaller. So you will be surrounded by at least 3 neighbors, and the only one not surrounding is your street. But that street is only 2 meters. If you're unlucky, it's actually 4 meters to be able to build. So they make the windows smaller and smaller, and then they put in the smoke kind of opaque kind of glazing. And so, but yeah, that little trick is once these windows get smaller, you have more wall surface to do earthquake safety, which means the wall can get thinner. Or like whatever of wood, you have to put in less material because you have more wall. Once your windows get bigger, your columns get bigger, and then you have to calculate. So earlier we talked about the licensed architects. So if I build a new build, it's a first-class licensed architect. However, there's also a second-class licensed architect, and most carpenters will have that license. But the second-class, second licensed architect, they can build up to a 2-story building without having to do calculations, and which means you don't have to show those calculations to the ward or city where you're applying. So most houses are therefore 2 stories, done by carpenters, windows small, because they don't want to do the calculations, and it's all a standard. And they've done a few houses, they know where to put stuff in. And for safety, they'll just put in it's called a brace, a sujikai.
Extra ones.
And those spots that are basically walls. And then these foreigners come along and they go like, oh, open plan kitchen. And like, yeah.
Exactly what we did.
Interesting.
You now have a sujikai right where you're cooking, right? It's kind of hard to cook.
It looks good, but Koen, you mentioned insulation. This is something we tell almost everyone. We look at all these older houses in the 70s and we tell everyone there's like no insulation. Is it really just cost cutting? That was the big thing, or like when did
it's 2 things. So the regulations are lax. So Japan had an oil shock, but it didn't translate into let's use insulation so we save on oil. Now, the funny part is Japanese are quite low on the scale of energy use per capita per house or per house per capita. Sorry for the Americans, but the McMansions are horrible. And, you heat and cool your whole house. In Japan, you heat and cool per room, right? So you're all in the living room. You're sitting at what's called kotatsu, the table with the heater underneath and with the blanket. So your back is freezing, but at least your legs are warm and kind of you fall asleep. This is how people spend New Year's here. Had a few of those. So the house is heated per room, and the contractors know this. So everybody's sitting in the living room, and then the bedrooms in winter are just cold because then you have your futons. And it comes from the old houses, which were actually really cold. Heated toilet seats, guess what? your toilet is cold. There's no heating in the toilet. So they invented heated toilet seats, which can then be
Smart.
turned into with all kind of gadgets. So this is where the Japanese toilets evolved from, having no heating. Like, it's that simple. So basically, there's a lack of regulation. They allow contractors to not put it in. They don't get punished. They have recently introduced an energy label. So the current houses and the houses going forward will be much better. But my experience in the past 10 years has been, I'm European, so we put insulation everywhere, flooring, walls, ceiling, even in between floors. And it's also sound insulation. And the insulation, so you get a quote, and it will have the electrical works, the wood works, the painting, whatever, tiles, gas, whatever. And then there's Zatsukoji, which is the miscellaneous works. And all of your insulation ends up in the miscellaneous works.
Really?
Why is it there? Because then you can take it out. Because it's
Oh,
basically your quote is, and it's 20% more expensive than you thought.
Work or
One is not to do the work. Two, they have to order it. Three, it's glass wool, so you need gloves and you need to put it in. And it's the
Yeah.
carpenter who has to do it. But the carpenter's like, look, guys, I'm a carpenter. I make wood. Why do you
Yeah.
make me, make my fingers itch because you have to put in glass wool? The main contractor will go like, let's take that out. And then they tell you like, oh yeah, by the way, in Japan we build for summer. And I go like, what about the other 6 months? It's like-
You need insulation in the summer too. It's hot.
Exactly. Now, the thing is, this is, of course, around Tokyo, and this is how they save money. Yeah, it's a cost for them. They don't have to move it, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you go to Hokkaido, everything is perfect. They have the insulation, they have the double glazing, they have the faucets. There's actually, if you go to the catalog for faucet, there's always a faucet where you can do an extra setting and it keeps dripping. So your pipes don't
Oh.
freeze in winter. So you always have to check which faucet you're picking because it will be the Hokkaido faucet, right? So the building system in Japan is made. They have extremes from Hokkaido to Okinawa, which is tropical, and then you even get a typhoon over your roof. So trust me, they have everything secured. Then, so it's not a lack, but it's basically it's cost. It's contractors trying to make
Okay.
a buck. So.
Interesting. Yeah,
And then
no, we
now I have to say, on top of that, the humidity is very high in Japan. So what if we do insulation, and there's something called the dew point. The dew point is when the outside temperature high and then inside temperature low, water will condensate, right? And if that dew point is within your insulation gets wet. That's why you have vapor barriers, right? Sorry, it's a bit technical now. The vapor barrier will let air through, but keeps the moisture out. It's called Tyvek. So when you do insulation, you have to put Tyvek and then insulation. So, and don't go too thick on the insulation. So I know Sweden house imported houses, and they're great for a northern dry climate where it's -20. You do that in Japan, they had a lot of problems in the beginning with the dew point. So there's basically moisture behind your walls, right? Now, for your Akiyas, and there's enough ventilation, just basically within the walls, there are 109 millimeters. So basically just put the 100 mil and put it in the wall, and maybe a Tyvek sheet.
Is there
Follow
any
that.
way to we see a lot of people who are again buying these and we no, there's no insulation. Is there like a spray insulation or some kind of easy, you have to take down the walls
Yeah.
and put them in, right?
Yeah, no, there is a foam insulation that they can pump in, but because the way the system is built, your columns are at a 900 grid, 909 grid. Then the plasterboard is put against that and it's screwed in. So if you want to find where to put in the insulation every 909, you have to make a hole, right?
Okay.
So then it's easy to take off. Now, when you take off the boards, sometimes, especially on the ground floor, if the house is not well ventilated, what do you call it? Sorry, mold. Mold that form behind the boards. It's in any way good, at least on the ground floor, to take off the boards, just to see there's no mold behind it.
Got it. Good thing we did that, right, Joey?
Now I'm worried we didn't Tyvek, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, again, in a newly built house, it's so airtight that then the Tyvek will work. In your Akiya, trust me, there's wind going everywhere, so you're fine. There's ventilation.
Another question on our Akiya. We didn't double pane the windows, and I know it's not going to be perfect insulation, but do you think that's a worthwhile cost if we are, let's say we're living there for a longer period of time, double pane, retroactively change all the windows?
I think you can. But again, if your walls and you insulated your
Yep.
walls, so that's good. So then the next step would be the windows. Now the thing is and then again, change the whole window. Don't just change the glass, because it's the frames that are
Mhm.
old and basically will leak. So your normal frames are much better equipped. So I can definitely do that. I would do that for the areas where you spend most of the time, which is
Okay.
probably the ground floor, living room, kitchen, because that's where we'll really be heating most of the time. And then bedrooms, I wouldn't bother with an old house. I would more
Okay.
like.
Do they make a lot of like the pre-made windows for the old houses, or is it kind of just like all are those custom orders at this point? Yeah.
Yeah, it basically, I mean, windows in the end are always custom, but for the house makers, yes, they have certain series, and then it fits within this 909 system, so 818, 1818, and then the window fits within there. But then it always depends on what did the contractor do, what's the substructure. If you're lucky, you can get the standard window. If not, then it's automate, but any window in a sense is automate. Windows only get ordered after the contractor has built the opening.
Oh.
And that's when the window guy will come, measure the opening, and then gets you the perfect window. So
Okay.
windows are never made from plan, unless it's a big building and they have taken into account a certain leeway to accommodate. And then, yes, of course, then they will order. Again, if you need 1,000 windows, you're not going there measuring and then start production. But if you don't do windows for a house, yeah, they make them basically from scratch. Yeah.
Got it.
Koen, what do you think more generally about Japanese real estate? Seems to be hot right now. A lot of people are interested in it. A lot of people specifically because it's cheap. Do you have any just general feelings towards?
It's not cheap where I live, so that's downtown Tokyo, but it's cheap in the rest of Japan because it has a reason. Japan's running empty in the countryside. So yes, you can buy a very cheap Akiya, but what's around it, right? And your service level is going down. Now, if you come there for a weekend, a month, whatever, you have a car and you go around, it's perfect. I find it great. I mean, for the long run, I think it's good for Japan. There are a lot of these houses. The more people who come, the better. The countryside needs some revitalization. People have their businesses there, so it's just like everywhere else. The only point is your maintenance, and then also winter. If you're buying in the mountains, you'll have lots of snow. Again, I was earlier talking about typhoons, so people have storm shutters. So before you leave, close the storm shutters. I just learned as well, working for another project, they wanted blinds on the outside. Over the 4th floor, they don't do blinds on the outside. And I'm like, what's this? Because in Europe, you can see blinds everywhere. Typhoon, basically. So the weather is extreme. Then again, look at Europe being flooded at the moment. Even in Japan, the weather will get more extreme. So, again, sustainability perspective, make sure your house can withstand some rainstorms, even if you're not there. So everything is shuttered.
What do you think about one of the contributing factors that I hear people say why there's so many abandoned homes? There's obviously the demographic factors, but the fact that Japanese people prefer to buy new, whether it's cars or homes, they prefer a new structure. Do you think that would ever change? Will there be more of a renovation culture in Japan?
Yeah, so the average Japanese works very hard. And secondly, again, Japan is a large, so I'm generalizing, right? So there is, of course, within certain subgroups, people do DIY, and there's a big super Viva homes. You can buy all the stuff you want to do your renovations. But even let's say if you start from the rental market, let's say you got a job in a big city and you rent. And then when you move into the rental apartment, it's perfect, right? If I move into a Dutch rental apartment, I have to bring my own light bulbs, right? That's kind of the extreme. In the Netherlands, people will take everything. In Japan, the landlord takes care of your house, so it's perfect. So your mentality is already that every time you move into a perfect place. So why would you buy a 40-year-old house and then you have to spend your weekends? First, you're young, so you have to work long hours. Now, people have normal hours as well, but even then, you might have a long commuting time. So by the weekend comes on Saturday, you're dead tired. Why would you then spend hours renovating your house? And your wife will go like, none of my friends is renovating a house, but wives are important. Partners, maybe I should say. So that's one contribution. But I tell you the biggest reason, and that's banks. So if you go to the bank, if you're Japanese, Mr. and Mrs. Tanaka, and we have this great idea to buy this house in Inaka, and it's 40 years old, it's beautiful, big, I don't know, 50 tsubo, 100 tsubo, and you go to the bank, this is great, let's buy it, let's get a loan. Bank goes like, 40 years old? No.
Yeah.
Basically, the house can fall apart next day because termites, because whatever. there is a system, of course, that you can go in and you can go check and those kind of things, but you will need to bring your own lots of cash to buy the house. One, then you get like, okay, why don't we take out a second loan to renovate? And the bank goes, okay, so we gave you a mortgage 50% on a 40-year-old house, and now you're coming to us again, which is the max we're going to give you, and now you want to spend money to renovate it. And they go like, no, because they said that you bought it for, I don't know, 50 million. This is more, we're talking Tokyo numbers now, and you need another 10, 15, 20 million. The bank will probably give you 2 million. Because in their valuation, you spending 20 doesn't add, 50 to 70 is not what they can sell it for.
Yeah, kind of like how cars are.
Like a car. And it has all to do with how the houses are built. So European houses are brick, stone, whatever, like a 400-year-old house in the center of Amsterdam. Looks great, right? Japanese 400-year-old house has had earthquakes for 400 years. And that also means all your pipes, all your joints have been moving for 40 years. Right? So it's not only the house as a structure and it has moved, but again, you've torn down walls, you see how it's built. It's put together with plates, right? And it has been shaking. So at one point you'll get cracks. So from a bank perspective, and that's I think the biggest reason they're Akiya is, again, straight out example, old house on a piece of land in the center of Tokyo. You go to the bank, I want to buy this. They say no. Okay, you tear it down. Here's a piece of land. Can I buy this and give me a loan for new house? Yes. Here's the loan. They'll shovel money at you. So the biggest obstacle to the renovation market to keep old houses are basically the banks. They will not lend you money.
Speaking of those really, really old houses, have you done any renovations on the Kominka kind of style houses? We get a lot of dreamers on those, and I know it's hard, right?
And so there's a submarket in Japan called Kominka. People will buy Kominka in the countryside and move them within Tokyo. It's a special submarket. No bank will borrow money against it. So either you have money yourself, or you do it yourself, or you have that particular sum to buy a 10 million old Kominka somewhere and then bring it over. Friend of mine was looking at it in Kamakura, Kita Kamakura, Kominko, because the real estate guys could see the value of that house, that they know people are interested. Boom, prices are up, right? So submarket, niche. Right?
Do you need special like carpenter, like if I don't know, some part was damaged and you bought an old Kominka, some part was damaged, you need like a special carpenter for that type of joinery or whatever's using it?
No, I think any carpenter worth its money. I would get an older guy to do it. They have more experience. And you run into what everybody runs into here in Japan. If you get the younger contractor who's out for a quick buck, then nothing is possible. And he'll put in cheap vinyl just to cover up that nice old joint that you wanted to repair. The hacks everywhere. So yeah, you would need to find somebody that at least has some skills. On average, any carpenter will have skills. And it's actually interesting because if you give them an interesting job, they're also interested because they don't get these requests, right? Japanese basically want quick, cheap, dirty, done. Right? Individual people, they will work for a larger construction company. So they're sent to a site, okay, fix this, fix the floor, fix that. So all has to be done quick and dirt and cheap. If you do invite them and say, look, guys, can we do something here? Can we renovate? Oh, their eyes light up and they go, oh, yeah, sure, let's try something. You need to find that guy. And that can take you 3 guys before you find that guy.
We thought we found, so when rewinding the clock, we bought our place in Beppu. We talked to a couple of contractors. Contractor A was a big company that wanted the prefab kind of shower unit, stuff like that. Joey and I, foolishly, we had our vision of like, let's make this place look really nice. Let's do it on Airbnb. We went
not foolish.
Well, maybe let's see. At points of this past year has seemed foolish, but we're almost at the end of the line here. So we went with the handyman who I think his eyes lit up. Joey had a vision of like a concrete shower and very custom type stuff. I think a lot of what you just said there, Joey, would you agree? He was pretty excited.
I asked him out of all his jobs, what's been his favorite? And maybe he was just trying to be nice to us, but he said he liked because he was getting to do different stuff. As you mentioned, it's not the same old standard stuff.
Yeah, but you said something very interesting, Koen, in our last chat about our contractor experience. Like, hey, he gave us a price, we came back. But can you kind of say that again, or what are your
right? So his eyes light up because 1, you're a foreigner. 2, you have no clue of what's standard in Japan, and 3 is Christmas is coming, basically. So you have no clue about pricing. Then he goes out and he makes a quote, and it's what 30, 40, 50% above your budget. You have to go back in and say, okay, that's not what we're looking for. Now, my experience is I can go through the quotes and go like, come on. This is not the pricing it should be. It all depends on, because he's taking a risk, right? Here's a story behind why he quoted you more. If he deals with Japanese has a certain expectation. He's gotten into that job through an introduction. If anything goes wrong, you have a person behind that you can call, like, oh, okay, we tried this. Oh, they're not paying. Can you please push them to pay? Because that's the risk for him as a contractor. So in your case, I don't know where you found him. You're out of the blue. You
Friend's friend.
Yeah. Friends of friends, which in a way then doesn't have that connection. So he's hedging. So these foreigners, what's what all foreigners do, that's what foreigners can do. They can disappear. There's no way for him to find you, right? So he does that job, he builds beautiful concrete, and then you decide not to pay. Then he did all the work. I think to avoid that, you could start with smaller jobs and say, okay, do this, do that. And then as soon as he sends the invoice, you pay him, which is already rare. Japanese corporations would be 30 days. If they're a bit nasty, it's 60 days, right?
Really?
So these guys work. If they're small guys, they work for larger contractors. And these contracts aren't stupid either. So they wait for the money from the client, then they pay the subcontractor, right? So they all get squeezed. So I think to build up a report with a guy like that is to show that you can pay, right? Now, it works both ways because the guy could be a hack, right? So you let him do a floor first. You let him do something else. If that works perfectly and you pay him, then it's fine. And then you give him a bigger job. We learned the hard way. We hired a guy, and it's turned out that the client was paying him, but he was plugging holes for his other projects where he was late. So he wasn't even starting on the project.
I think that happened to us.
Kind of could still be happening, but our place is almost done, right?
Right. I mean, you have the biggest carrot, which is like, we need to pay you, right? There's a certain sum left outstanding. But with Japanese contractors, better keep that sum behind. And then even if the small stuff has to be, the house is delivered, and then you do snagging, it's called, right? Take a little blue tape and you tell this needs to be fixed, and the guys have to come in. This is a very normal procedure. Once that's done, you pay them the full amount. Because what happens is they will do the snagging repair work, but this is Japan, guys are busy. This was one job. They're already at the next job. They don't want to drive back an hour to your site to fix stuff. So it'll come back in a month. So you always have that carrot, keep a certain amount of payment, and don't be nasty. It's like, they did 90% of the work, pay 90%, keep 10%. Okay. And then he'll come back, you pay him the 10%. So don't get nasty like, oh, I'll pay you half.
Yeah.
So look at the contract. And then at the end you go in, okay, stuff still missing. By when? Next week. Okay, I can pay you 90% now. Give me an invoice and I'll pay you 10% or make it 80-20. And that's fair. And as you pay right the 80%, then he goes, okay, these guys are good, so I'll do my work. Give and take.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good. Joey, we should definitely do that before we pay Sato-san the remaining.
Sato-san, if you ever listen to this podcast, I propose this.
Yeah. So there's a situation where Joey, he was there and he put all these outlet spots. He was like, Sato-san, I want to have outlets here, here, here. Like Joey even blue taped it. And I think Joey, you said it to him like 12 times, I feel like. And he didn't.
Yeah. So we went overboard on a lot of outlets. We asked him, I marked everywhere. And then once when I was there, I walked around with him and I pointed out all the outlets. I did give him the caveat. At this point, just some context, like we're like 7 months in to the, we kind of wanted to speed things up. So I did give him the caveat, like, hey, like if it's moody, like,
gave him an out, Joey.
I gave him that.
But second thing is, was it in the original quote?
This would have been like an extra.
Okay, did you tell him you'll pay for the extra? Because you have to be clear. So the proper way is, look, Sato-san, I want 12 more outlets. Okay, check the contract. We only asked for 6, so it's 6 more. Give me the quote. Right? Then you don't have a surprise, because if he does the work and then like, oh, by the way, that was 1,000,000 yen. I had to put the piping through the wall, through the neighbor's house, and it had to come back. And, they'll have excuses, right? Why is this 1,000,000 yen? So step is before you do the work, this is Japan, right? And it should be in any country, by the way. Before you do the work, you set the scope. Then the contractor knows what he needs to do. He gives you a price for that scope, right? And then that was the main contract, let's say. Anything extra, you do the same step. I want 12 extra outlets. This is the price. Yes, no. We agree on the price. he'll build it. So asking for extra work is the main headache for any contractor.
Yes.
'Cause what you think is like, can you just put it in? No. Sato-san doesn't do it. He has to call the electrician, but he has made a contract with the electrician, and that's fixed. You know, whatever kitchen lights, 10 points. Now you're asking for 22 points, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't work. I think you can
Yeah.
ask for one. Oh, please, in the kitchen, we forgot. Can you put one? And especially do it when the electrician is there on that day. Oh, can you just wire that one? That's fine. Right?
Okay.
And again, what you asked for as well, sorry, just the background. There are columns every 90 centimeters. How does he get that wire into all of those? He needs to open either the wall or pull a wire, unless you want these beautiful plastic molds stuck on the wall going to your outlet.
Don't want that.
I think that was part of the issue. It was that, so we were coming to and from the house, like there would be like 2 or 3 months periods where he was there working by himself. Then we'd come back and then point stuff out. And I think maybe when I finally did do that outlet walk, it might have been a little bit too late, and he had done some work on the walls already, maybe put the insulation in already, and I did give him the out. So it could be my fault.
It's okay, Jerry. It's fine. We'll figure it out. So I think the house is going to be done in 2 weeks. We're waiting on confirmation here. We're going to go in. We're gonna tag it and show. Be like, is it pretty common to be very like aggressive in tagging? And I don't know, what's the proper way to not make him mad? Of like, hey, can we get that changed and stuff like that?
No, correct. So the thing is, these guys worked on it. What are you saying now? 7-8 months. So they're workmen. They've done the work. They're proud of their work. That everybody has pride in what he or she does. So when you go in there in an aggressive way, you'll get an aggressive answer. So that doesn't work. Now, there's a certain level of expectation that you expect the work to be done to a certain standard. So when you can point to standards, then be as aggressive as you want. But also think what you agreed on. So the set of drawings. So that's, we as architects are always making drawings, and we follow up with drawings, because in the end it's like, oh, I had a window here. I go, no, you don't. And you go like, in my drawing, I had a window here. Oh, okay. Then
we got no drawings.
So then, then it's either you should have done sketches or whatever. Okay. So part of why you hire an architect, part of the architect's drawing set will be the first 3 pages, which list, and again, each architect does it differently, but it will list the standards of work. When you're working with the Takanaka, that's like 10, 12 pages, but it lists everything, like from the quality of the concrete, the quality of the plasterboard, the quality of the paint, how many layers of paint, piping electricity needs to be in piping, and it's literally for us already 3 pages, and that's the standard quality. Nobody ever reads that, but everything is in there. And then you get to the drawings. So in this case, if you miss the drawings, then it's your vision and his interpretation of your vision. Now, you're both international, you're living in North America, real estate is a thing. Welcome to Japan. Your house looked like crap because that was the standards 40 years ago. It hasn't moved much beyond, because Japan is an island. And your contractor, do ask him if he's ever been abroad.
Never been on a plane, is what he says.
His knowledge of the world is Japan. So everything you will see, and I'm not trying to scare you now, but everything you will get in your house is a Japanese solution. And that might not correspond with your North American solution.
Yep.
All right, this is the gist of it. So that's where you have drawings to show them like, no, this is how it should be done. So again, not to scare you. I'm not sure what you asked, but
I see the value in drawings now, because there's other places like around lighting that I think got fell away as well. So I see the value in planning.
Right. So again, this is a podcast, so a lesson for everybody out there. You're talking to the contractor. This contractor guy is not going to climb a ladder to put that light up. The electrician will do that. So already 2 steps where it could go wrong. Once when you point it to the ceiling, he goes like, oh yeah, sure. And then Sato-san will point to the ceiling to the electrician. 2 steps is already, we're talking about 3 points now.
Game of telephone a little bit.
Sato-san, electrician. That thing could end up outside if you don't. Or, okay, that's why you have tape. And okay, you grab the ladder and say, this lamp
Yep.
here, right? And this is what he does. So you take the green tape with a Sharpie and say, put a cross on it and put the green tape. Electrician then knows it goes there. So there is a process. You walking around saying things and having a vision is not, and again, his eyes see different things. So it's literally, as a general.
No, we learned a lot there. I think we're definitely going to do our next house a little differently with at least drawings and clear agreements. Good. One last thing with this house we're getting, it's about done. We did not explicitly ever discuss getting it painted. This is something we've thought about. Is it appropriate at the end to be like, hey, when you have time, or should we try to push it right away? Be like, hey, can you paint this for this initial amount? How is painting an outside of the old house difficult or a big task for the contractor?
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, houses get painted. Normally, when people do the maintenance every 10, 15 years, you would paint it. So do understand it's 2 layers of paint, because whatever is now on there, they're not going to scrape it off. It's some kind of paint or finish. So what you'll do is there will be you will need to fix as a primer. Basically, what the primer does, it takes all the dirt, all the grime, it basically fixes it to the substructure, and it soaks it in. So he'll paint it, it's a transparent paint one, and he'll go over with the second layer. Now, if the house is dark red and you want it white, he needs probably 2 coats of white, right? And so also think of where the color scheme is. And again, it's also something, depending on the state of the house, I know what it looks like. It's something you don't have to do now. You can call them back in. Because everything with contractors as well, if you want a cheaper cost, they're busy. So if you say, hey, can you paint, give us a price? First, you don't get the price, you ask him for quotes, because he'll need to get the scaffolding, the primer, the paint. And again, he doesn't do it. He has a painter for that, and it depends on their schedule. So if you leave it a bit to them, don't give them carte blanche, like it will be done next year. Let's say, how about in the next 2 months, we get the house painted? Could you get us a quote? Find a painter. Because for them as well, they want it next week. These Americans, right? They want it next week. So then they go like, and then the price goes up because hey, actually I don't have time. But if you tell them like, give me 2 months, 3 months, again, maybe don't paint in winter. Sorry. So let's take it over winter, right? Although winters are very dry in Japan, Beppu, it's very dry. You could do it until December probably. Ask him.
Okay.
In Europe, we never paint on the outside in winter, so I don't know. North America. Right.
Good tips. One even follow-up question, it's not, we're not going to do this for this house. I love that style of the shosugiban, kind of burned wood, burned cedar. Have you ever worked with that? Is that just crazy?
I thought you were going to ask about that next.
I know. I think that look is so cool.
I mean, it is very cool, but make sure you get a really good quote. So there will be a guy. That wood is not something you buy off the shelf. They'll buy the wood, and there will be a guy with a burner standing there for a few days, burning wood, basically. Every plank will be burned, and then it gets put on, which is a normal job. It's a great look, but the question is, again, I'm an architect, does it fit with the look of the house? I mean, you can do whatever I see. Again, I'm the architect here. You can do part of the house, like the bottom part or around your entrance, kind of. But there's also those really old wooden houses when they're totally black with a really nice pitched roof on it. It looks really cool.
Looks good. Okay.
I mean, and here's my other tip: Viva Super Homes, buy the wood and buy the burner. And then just stick it on the facade. So
Cool. Well, we're coming up on time. Have maybe 1 or 2 more questions for you. I guess one quick question: Who's a Japanese architect you follow or you like or find inspiration out of?
I mean, the architect we follow the most, as everybody else, I guess, is King Okuma is the most famous of all. Like, he's got a really nice experimental style to it. But I would say the one that is my personal favorite would be Sejima-san, which is a female architect. She just recently, not recently, they won the Pritzker already 10, 15 years ago.
What was her name again?
Yes, Sejima, Kazuyo Sejima.
Okay.
Sejima Kazuyo. And then her partner is called Nishizawa Ryue. And they have a joint office called SANA, SANAA. So they did actually a project in the US as well. They did a museum in the Bowery in New York. They did an open air museum somewhere. So they're quite big international office. And they have They have amazing work. But architecture is about aesthetic, so you have to like that aesthetic.
Got it. And then big pie in the sky. If what project would you build for yourself? What are you excited about? If money was not a problem, where would you buy in Japan, and what would you build?
Right. Okay. So I would definitely buy in the center of Tokyo. I think that's where the most value is.
Okay.
I'm involved with the Osaka Expo, and we're just doing we're the local architects for the Czech Republic, and they're doing a building in CLT. It's a 5-story building. It's amazing. It's it's a curved ramp that's 260 meters long. But we're working now with CLT, which I found a great material. It's almost impossible to show the CLT in Tokyo because of fire safety regulation. So I'm still trying to find out. You can paint it, which has a fire rating proofing. So something I'm looking into. So that would basically give a really nice wooden house within the center of Tokyo. That's what I'm looking at. If I would do something outside of Tokyo, I would definitely go for like an Akiya or like an older building. And then I think what to go for are the farmhouses.
Okay.
And you can see them still. They used to have the thatch roof, but the thatch is really expensive to maintain. So they're all covered in metal sheets. And you see them regularly standing. But people who live there know their value, and they're kind of more like the richer farmers that have these beautiful farmhouses. They're really rare for sale. But that's something I would definitely look into.
Is that like the Hida
Love that.
Takayama kind of like
Yeah.
that style?
Well,
Okay.
they're really pitched because they're in that certain region. They're the ones that are more on the countryside. They're less pitched, but they will have a thatch roof. Yeah. So those are the old ones, and occasionally you can find them. I had an American friend. I lost touch. Maybe you know him. I should find the name. He had one close to Mount Fuji, more like Hakone, and he was living, but it's in the mountains. So he was saying as well, if he left his glass of water outside in winter, the water was frozen in the glass. So basically, it's like that cold. But that was an old farmhouse. Beautiful. So.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out on Akiya Mart. If we find one, you're going to be the first person we reach out to. One quick question, actually, on the CLT. Is that a common product they use? I know in the US they're starting to pick it up. Is it like, how new is it in Japan?
Same as in the US. It's pretty new. They're getting up pretty nice buildings. They just did Obayashi did I think 15-20 story building even. Of course, there's a lot of steel still involved because structurally you wouldn't get up to 20 stories. There's a lot of issues then with the fire rating and how to, because they have to put the sprinkler installation in. So like, trust me, 80% of the little houses you see are built in wood. So not that wood is new, but wood gets clad, and they've figured out this post and beam system. So CLT works a bit different because you work with sheets. So don't have to then be adapted to the earthquake code. But yeah, it's coming, and I think it's unavoidable. But again, I'm in sustainability. Don't correlate that if we're building in wood that we're being sustainable, because we don't have enough forest to build a wooden house for everybody on this planet. So we need it's nice for PR, and maybe we can get rid of concrete, but concrete for sure, just don't tear the house down in 20 years. European houses, or keep the concrete for 100 years. You're saving the planet because we're not continuously scrap and build. I think that's the biggest problem of the building industry, how to be sustainable. So build more buildings in CLT is not a solution to our environmental problems. It's build smarter, build with a long term, again, 100 years, 200 years in mind.
Concrete, baby.
Yeah. Well, concrete, I think wood as well. Like, again, Amsterdam, center of Amsterdam, 400-year-old houses, the frames are wood, and then they're clad in bricks. So it's possible. Now, again, the Netherlands doesn't have earthquakes, so it's a different system again.
Awesome, Koen. Well, this has been super, super helpful. Like, how do people reach you? We'll put your information in, or how do you want people to contact you?
Yeah, I think we'll talk to anybody. I think that's the fun of the job as well. Again, we design bedrooms. So when you have couples and then they're designing bedrooms, we're also turned into psychologists once in a while. So this is the fun part of being an architect. We know sometimes too much about the clients, but no, anybody's welcome. I would say I live and work in Tokyo, so anything in the vicinity of Tokyo would be preferred. Otherwise, I do charge for travel costs.
Zuckerberg coming up.
So in that sense, it's how do I say, it's easier for everyone. How to reach me? Basically, frontofficetokyo.com is our website, and there is an email address on that. And apparently, if you mention our name on Reddit, people know us as well. So
awesome. Cool. Well, hey, thank you so much for spending time with us. This is the second conversation. This is one of the funnest conversations we've had, I think. We've learned a lot. So
I agree.
thanks so much for being on.
Perfect. I wish you good luck with the house in Beppu. Finish soon, so please put it up on
Come
the
visit.
website.
Come visit.
And if I'm in Beppu, definitely.